You're tuned into The Collective Voice, thought-provoking interviews co-hosted by young adults, fostering deep faith through courageous questions. Welcome to the conversation. Greetings, everyone. Welcome to this episode of The Collective Voice. I am the Reverend. Do people say that still?
Yeah.
I think you have to be Episcopal to say the right Reverend, though, right? I can't do that as United Methodist. Yeah, that's nothing. Okay. I'm Reverend Phil Dickey, Director of Congregational Innovation at Austin Presbyterian Theological Seminary, and just really grateful for y'all joining us again for another episode of The Collective Voice. I'm also here with Cece.
Reverend Cece Sukmak, Sonia, try to get that and spell it correctly. You get a prize. And I'm super excited today to welcome our guest. This is Reverend Emily Knoth, spelled Knoth. Knoth. We're not gonna do it correctly.
We're not gonna.
We're just not gonna mess that up.
That was probably. I'm sorry.
Well, mute. I'm kidding.
I'm gonna mute myself.
Emily is the pastor at First Presbyterian in Wichita, Kansas. You might know her better as Pastor M. Knoth on TikTok. If you Google her name, it will straight up put up an article about her and her TikTok rise to fame, which I thought is incredible. Maybe not quite fame like Overlord TikTok takeover yet, but we'll get there. Emily, can you just share a little bit about yourself
and when you decided that you wanted to be TikTok famous? That's really the most important first question.
Well, when I was 7, no, I'm kidding. My name's Emily. I am a Presbyterian pastor in the PCUSA. My wife is an Episcopal priest, so she actually could be a right reverend.
She could be the right reverend. Nice.
And we are here in Wichita, Kansas. I graduated from Princeton Theological Seminary with my Master's of Divinity and Master's of Christian Education and Formation in 2024, and then moved straight to Wichita. And my wife started her job here, and I started at First Presbyterian Church of Wichita, Kansas as the head of staff. I was the first queer person to be ordained and installed in the Presbytery of Southern Kansas, which is so wild because it's 2026.
In the entire presbytery?
Yeah, in the entire presbytery, which is pretty wild. And yeah, Wichita's a weird place sometimes. There's, that I was the first queer person to be ordained there, but then also I have a lot of colleagues in ministry who are queer and been doing ministry here for a long time. So it's a unique place. And I have 2 dogs. They're both really big. And I really like reading. And I have this TikTok thing that I'm still figuring out what to do with. And yeah, that's I guess a 30-second elevator pitch.
30-second elevator pitch. We will come back to books. Maybe that'll be our closing question, because I did, again, in seeing who you are on the interwebs, it was many book spaces, and I was like, yeah, I can talk about books all day.
All day.
But I think one of the things that we do a little bit in our collective is around digital ministry and digital media.
Yeah, let's talk TikTok.
Let's talk TikTok. And I will admit, I will come clean. I know this is a safe space. I'm not on TikTok.
That's
never got on it.
That's really good. Yeah.
And have been off of Instagram since Lent. That was my Lenten discipline, my Lenten fast. And it's been so good for me. I'm just still fasting, even in this season of Easter. So yeah, tell us a little bit more about that, maybe how it started. And then I'm personally curious about knowing that social media is not great for mental health, right? It's just not always great for us, but also where most people go to find out information.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
How do you navigate that tension?
Yeah. Well, this isn't an ad, but I have a brick. Do you know what those are? It's I
have some in my house. Yeah.
No, this is a little piece of technology that's really overpriced, but you stick it on your fridge or something magnetic and it blocks you out of your phone all day. Blocks out of social media all day. Or however, whenever you want to be blocked off of social media, you're blocked off. And the only way you can get back on is if you stick your phone to it. And so I have to be if I'm at work and I've bricked it, I can't unbrick it until I'm home. And that genuinely, I highly recommend if you were born 1998 or 1990 or after, you need a brick because we just don't have the self-control. It's really helpful for me. But yeah, TikTok. Okay. So I am a big reader. I'm a big I mean, I'm a nerd. Like I care a lot about the patterns we're seeing in the problems we're seeing in I mean, there's just so much around how problematic the act of scrolling is in and of itself, and about how much it's changing us and changing our relationships and changing our world in really negative ways. But then there's also this other side, particularly I think brought forward to me through the disability community, of being like, actually, this is one of the only ways that folks can connect. And like, you need to learn to stop. I don't know if I can curse here. You need to stop shitting on it, because like for us, this is a way to connect. And so it's like, for me, a lot of this, and I did not join TikTok until later, because my friends who were on it, it literally felt like an addiction. Like they were like, it felt like an obsession. And then I finally caved a few years after COVID, and well, after 2020. And I didn't post anything. And then I started this role as head of staff at First Pres, and one of our new members came to me, and he was a young, straight white guy in his 20s. Him and his wife lived in the suburbs, you know, and he had just gotten baptized by me, which was so cool, because him and his 2-year-old son got baptized together. It was my first baptism. So that was like so neat. But he came to me and he said, Emily, like, you need to be on TikTok, because he does TikTok for Frisbee golf. And I was like, you know, I actually feel like I don't ethically believe that that's a good thing for me to be doing. And he said, well, you know, there are so many people that just don't know churches like this exist. And I think what he meant by that, between the lines, was like churches that accept queer people, churches that have queer pastors, like churches that are interested in social justice. And so I was like, I do not want to be one of those people on TikTok. And there's nothing wrong with the people who do this, but who are just like social justice warriors who are coming to tell you that like Christ loves everybody, because that is true and wonderful, but like getting into fights with strangers on the internet is not my ministry. It is some people's ministry, but it's not mine. And I was like, I don't want to do that. But something I care deeply, deeply, deeply about is books, and children's books in particular, theologically sound children's books. And so I thought, well, at the least I could do is share a few theologically sound children's books. And I made my first TikTok, just sharing a few, and people were like, oh my gosh, we want more of these. And so I shared more. And then I shared more. And then I ran out of children's books. So I just started sharing other books. And then I ran out of other books, and I just started talking. And this is so funny. My mother texted me and was like, loved your TikToks, but what happened to book recs? We get to hear you talk all the time. And I was like,
shout out, Mom. Like, the important content.
Also, Mom, you can always ask me for book recs, you know, like, come on.
Yeah, it was really funny. But yeah, and then I just like haven't stopped. And I try to post like every other day or so. And it has changed the demographic of our church. Like, we have so many young people at this church now. When I first came here a year and a half ago, the youngest person was 60. And I had a girl come to me yesterday in church, and she's in her 20s, and she goes, Pastor Emily, did you know like a year and a half ago this church was dying? And I was like, well, what do you mean by that? And she goes, apparently there was no young people here. And I said, yeah, well, that is true. Like, there were no young people here like a year and a half ago. And she's like, I just can't even imagine like First Pres without all the young people. Like, we're half the church. And I was like, well, now you are. You know, it was just so funny, because like she was just so new to the, you know, and it was like, for her, this church was defined by its amount of young people. Like, and really a lot of that has been TikTok, which is crazy, but also awesome.
And I love like hearing that. Well, I think this is true. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's not First Presbyterian Church of Wichita TikTok. This is at Rev M Knoth.
Yes.
Right. And so like, to me, what feels really wonderful and genuine about this, if I would be a TikTok user, which I'm not, and I probably won't be, even with the brick, I think it would be more attractive to me if like I saw someone living this out genuinely, right? Like, not in an effort to be like, hey, young people, come to First Pres or whatever Lutheran or whatever Methodist, because we're so cool and awesome. But like, no, like, here's some of what we believe. Here's some really great recommendations. Like, here's some thoughts. And also, you're welcome here. And I I will work to make you welcome here.
Yes, that has been, I think, the most important difference. And people will always be like, oh, I want to start a TikTok for my church. I'm like, don't. It's going to get like 4 followers. Like, that's not going to do anything. I mean, if you want to, go for it. Like, whatever. I don't care. But like, if you're looking at getting people into your church, like, then just show your presence in the community, which you should be doing in person all the time anyways, and then point them to churches that are safe and include your church in that list. Because all the time, like, our church is in a huge season of transition. A lot of stuff. This church was one of the first churches. It was the first church in the city of Wichita. It's over 150 years old. And we're doing a lot. We're going through a lot of discernment and transition at the leadership level, which is important work, but it's not pretty. Like, it's not glamorous. And I always joke when new people come, I'm like, hey, so First Church is in our single girl era. Like, we're not looking to like really evangelize ourselves right now. Like we have a lot of work we're doing behind the scenes to make ourselves who we think we should be. And like, you're always welcome here, but also I am more than happy to show you some other churches in the city that might be a better fit for you. And every time they're like, nope, I want to be part of that thing, because they're so used to churches being like, please, we'll pay you to come be at our church because you're 24 and you have a child. Like, yes, like, I think they're so used to the desperation almost, like, and it's just so refreshing to hear someone be like, hey, you're welcome here, but also I'm happy to show you some better fits because we're figuring our own crap out right now. And all of them, I like, that makes them more excited. It's like reverse psychology. It's kind of hilarious. But I'm always warning them. I'm like, this might not be a good fit for you. Like, and we're in a very particular season right now. And I think that they appreciate that.
Yeah, it's just that genuine nature that is really shining through whenever you're able to be authentic in that way.
Well, just being honest.
Like, I just said 2 like very kitschy words that are used so often, and like, you have to be genuine and authentic, and but to say that behind closed doors, but then to actually say it to a new person's face is a whole different reality.
Well, and to not be obsessed with your own church. I think that's something that I like this church very much. It's a good church. It has great people, but like, so much of, I think, when my numbers on TikTok started getting to numbers that were like, oh, what's happening? Like, it was because I had offered to help people find a safe church near them. And most of these people were not in Kansas. And so I was getting, thank God for my best friend, Rosa. She's a Presbyterian minister in New Jersey. And behind the scenes, she was like on all of the websites helping me find people, like, cause I was still, I had work. I wasn't expecting hundreds of people to message me. And it was like, Roanoke, Virginia, any Lutheran churches that are affirming there. Like, she was like on the computer helping me. But all of these people were messaging me. And like, there was a moment where 2 women who did not know each other in Florida messaged me looking for an affirming and open church in Florida. And there was some Lutheran church that was like close enough to both of them that I sent both of them there, and they like both attended there on Sunday, like in Florida, which was just like so cool. And I'm sure that Lutheran pastor was like, what is happening? Like, but it's just like, I think being able to truly believe that like, if we follow Christ to the death of our church, then so be it, that like people are going to show up more. Like, I'm not interested in keeping my church alive over other people's. I'm interested in getting people to a safe place.
I want to reiterate too, because I think you're right. So many people have talked or thought about having a TikTok or whatever for their specific church or for their specific ministry. And this has been a debate we've had. I'm a part of the Phygital Fellows group, which is a whole other conversation we can talk about at a different time. About physical, digital, it's a terrible name. I feel bad saying it in front of children. It's very awkward. But one of the things we talked about was like, it almost feels there's the battle between the idea of IRL, right, in real life versus digital, which we could talk a lot probably about Jonathan Haidt's book. If I'm sure that's one that you've read at this point. You haven't read it yet? Okay.
Which one?
The one it's all about social media. What is
the anxious
generation? Yeah.
I listened to a podcast like dissing it, but I haven't read it myself, which I'd be really interested to hear I would like to hear more.
I have a lot of feels about it. I think some of the research is really good. I think the way he approaches it, but part of his premise is that like it's the in real life versus digital, and I'm like, that's not a good binary, because like the people behind those screens are very much embodied people having a real experience.
Yes.
And so I think a lot of his argument from the get-go is just not good. So there's good statistics.
This podcast episode, I think you'd enjoy it.
Yeah. So I could anyway, that we could join us next time for a book study on Jonathan Haidt's An Anxious Generation. All that to say, I think there's something really important of what you're saying for people who are engaging in young adult ministry, people who are just like seeking to engage younger people in general through the church, that like just starting an account for your ministry in that space isn't always going to answer it's not going to be this salvific thing for your ministry to bring in young people, because if it's just representing an institution, sometimes it's going to feel disembodied.
Well, it's also just silly. I mean, we could use lots of, but it's just like, it's like, there seems to be this assumption of like, if we put ourselves out there, then like, they're going to be shocked and thrilled and like, da da da. It's like, but then you won't like, but putting yourself out there is just like, it's like somebody who's like, I want to find a partner, and I've like made a Tinder account, but then I made my account and that's all I've done. Like it feels very similar. It's like, that's like, you're missing the point. Yeah. You're missing the point. If you're just if you think putting yourself out there is how it's going to go.
For sure. And I think what you said when you said like, I meet these young people and I say like, we're in our single girl era right now. Maybe you're looking for a church that's settled down and got 20 kids and, you know, like
self figured out. Yeah.
Yeah. Retirement savings and all that.
Yeah.
We got money, we got people, we got all that. When my husband and I moved to Chicago to go to grad school, we were church shopping for the first time really ever, because we like grew up in the same, our respective congregations, and then there are 2 Lutheran congregations in the town we went to college in, and so it was like one or the other.
Yeah.
And then in Chicago, it was just a plethora of places, and we went to a Saturday night service at a Lutheran congregation that like housed itself out of an Episcopal church at like 5:00 on Saturdays, and Pastor Ben Adams, who's no longer there but is a great guy doing campus ministry in Michigan, started by saying, at Holy Trinity in the Loop, here's what we're for, and read a list. And he said, and here's what we're against, and read a list. And they had done the work to get there, to be able to say, like, we are for women in leadership. We are for people of color, like in leadership. We're for systems of welcome, and we are against transphobia, homophobia, sexism, racism, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And like theological stuff too, in addition to that. But it was so refreshing to the 2 of us to find a place that knew itself enough to say that, and to like pave the way to like, we could feel safe here, or our values could be aligned here, or whatever it might have been. So I think it's less counterintuitive, as like you said, it was refreshing just for a person who might be yearning for something similar, to find a space to make that possible. I don't know. If I went to a church and I said, we're going to dream a little bit differently, like we're in transition and we're going to do something new and exciting, I'd be like, I'm here, because I want that.
Yeah.
I'm tired of the church, I don't know, being as it is right now.
Yeah.
So do you feel like you have space this might be a complicated question, right? Like the congregation I served wanted to grow and come out of some stuckness, but to not do anything new or different. My question, I guess, is like, what's your runway there?
I think I think the people in my church would be like, no, but I always say they hired me as a Hail Mary, because I was only their second head of staff who was a woman ever. And the first one lasted 5 years. And she was a lawyer before she was a pastor, and she wore like suit, like she was like a very particular type, you know. I was the first queer person as a head of staff, and I was also their first person under 30. I just turned 28. When I started here, I was 26. Like I'm really, really young.
Especially for a head of staff role, right? I mean, that's
I went straight from seminary to head of staff. Yeah. And they met me and they were like, we're going to give you a pity interview, because they were looking for someone with 3 to 5 years of experience, and I had 0. And then the pity interview went a little too well. And then they were like, okay, well, we'll do a real one now. And then we had a real one. They're like, okay, well, we'll fly you out now. And then they flew me out, and then they're like, all right, okay, fine. All right, here we go. And from the very beginning, like they've been telling me like, we either need to shit or get off the pot. Like we need to figure out what's going on here. And I've said the same thing since I met them for the first time, which is like, you have to stop being so scared of letting this institution die, if you believe in a resurrected Christ. Like, there's no reason to be scared of letting this thing die. If this needs to die, let's let it die. And like, we have the money to let it die well and to like do something really cool. And when I say it die, that does not, like, if you are listening to this as a member of First Pres, you're like, oh my God, our doors are closing. No, that's not what I'm saying. Like, but letting the system of what was die and become something new. And like, it's hard. This is a 150-year-old system, and I am a 28-year-old girl. like it is not, like, there is a lot baked in, you know. Failure of Nerve by Edwin Fried, like, that's my Bible lately. Like, I've just needed that. Like, all the healthy systems books, I'm just like holding so close to my heart. But also like the new energy that new folks are bringing, and that folks who've been here for decades and decades have, it's something, like, and we're chasing it down. And like, I joke with them, like, I was a Hail Mary and we accidentally made a touchdown, and now we're just gonna go. Like, we're just gonna run. Let's just see what happens. Like, when I first came here, I thought my role was gonna be like maybe closing the door, you know, and like, clearly that's not it. We've just grown and grown. And yeah, now we're just trying really hard to figure out what it looks like to listen to what God's telling us to do during this. And that is hard for all people, but I think particularly for Presbyterians, to remember that our job isn't just to do things the right way and the proper way, but to do it in a Spirit-led way. And so, yeah, that is hard work, for not just for them, but for me. Yeah, but we're trying. We're trying.
Just a beautifully faithful expression. And so, first of all, just props to you coming in fresh out of seminary and sticking to that kind of value piece to it, and reminding folks again, like, this, we are resurrection people, right? We're here in Easter season, Eastertide here, and like this is the time to continue to celebrate that we are resurrection people. And yeah, just a huge props to you. I love that you kept saying Hail Mary. Maybe this episode brought to you by the movie Hail Mary in movie theaters now. But
yeah. Well, and it's like, as much as I bring some of the energy and the good chaos, like, there's so much,
good chaos.
Yeah. There's so much work that God's doing that, like, I don't know if you guys are like this, but I'm someone who says, like, I do not believe that God orchestrates things to happen. Like, I don't believe everything happens for a reason. And yet God will do things and I'm like, what are you doing? Like, what, like clearly that was God. And I just feel like that's happened so much since I got here. And we actually have a mascot at the church. His name is Calvin, and he's our cat. And the first Sunday, my first Sunday here ever, I was spiraling, like, just freaking out. We're this giant building. When I say giant, I mean like one of the largest church buildings that isn't like a true campus, that you've, like, very large, middle of downtown, really fraught relationship with the neighborhood. No, just spiraling, thinking about what I'd gotten myself into. And then this cat walked out from the memorial garden. And when I say cat, I mean kitten, like itty bitty kitten with a mouse the size of his, like, half of his body. And I'm like, oh my God, and they have a rat problem. Are you kidding me? Like, I was so mad. And so then a few days later, I asked the security guard, like, have you seen that black cat? And he's like, oh yeah, I hate cats. Like, but I did see him. I was like, okay, well, like, leave him alone. He's really cute. Fast forward, like 2 weeks later, this security guard, like macho burly guy, is feeding kitty feeding him in the parking lot. And I'm like, Franco, I thought you hated cats. He's like, well, yeah, but this one's kind of cute. And so then we named him Calvin. And then slowly words started spreading, like, and one of the matriarchs of the church, she was like, her husband's name is Dale. She's like, Dale, build that cat a house. So Dale built him a house. And then, like, a few days later, someone was like, oh, like, we're going to get him trapped, neutered, and released. So we caught him, we neutered him, we brought him back. And then I was visiting the nursing home, and like a month later, and this woman brought a bag of cat food, and I was like, what is this for? And she's like, oh, it's for Calvin. Like word was spreading, you know, like, and so finally I just acknowledged it. And I was like, I guess we have a church cat now. Like, and he gets salmon oil on all of his breakfast. He gets brushed twice a day. Like, and it's just like, I gave my first Pentecost. I was like, Calvin saved this church because Calvin is the Holy Spirit. Like God is doing things that I don't quite understand and get really angry at sometimes. But like, yeah, God's doing things that are not me.
I think that is so amazing. I hope you have like in your, I don't know, monthly newsletter, e-news, like Calvin's Corner, where it's just like,
we have updates. We don't do a monthly, but
okay.
But people, it's just the way they talk about him. Like he sits, we have a wall around the church, and he'll just sit on the wall with his head perched over, and people will be like, Calvin hasn't been fed yet. And then you'll hear from inside someone be like, yes, he did. He's trying to trick you into second breakfast. You know, like it's so cute how like everyone keeps tabs on him, and he greets everyone as you walk in, which is very sweet.
Who doesn't love a good second breakfast though? You know, like that's fantastic.
Calvin, he's getting a little, I mean, if we were to take him to a vet, they'd be like, you're overfeeding him, but we won't because he's a street cat. So
he's a street cat. He's a church cat.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm wondering, Emily, as you're talking and you're saying like I'm paying attention to God, and sometimes I'm mad, and sometimes I'm like something is happening, and it sounds to me like you are very spirit led in a system that, like an old system, which can be very difficult to be spirit led by, especially depending on how it's been led in the past. I'm wondering like what keeps you grounded and centered in that. I'm sure you have a million responsibilities too, right? Like what helps you be attentive to the Spirit?
Yeah. Well, I'm laughing because you're like, oh, you're spirit led. If my wife were here, she'd be like, no, she's not. She has to be reminded all the time. And she would be so right. Like, I am such a type A. Like, I am so like, let's get the budget done. Let's make sure everyone's where they're supposed to be. Like, and then we can feel our feelings. It is a true discipline. And like, I fail at it all the time. And this is such a Presbyterian answer to your question, but like for me, confession is where I like am brought back to remembering to be spirit led. Because every Sunday writing the prayer of confession, not every Sunday reading it, but then every week writing it. The act of like remembering that when I am not in tune with God, and when I'm choosing profit over people, or when I'm choosing like what makes sense over what is abundant love, that's sin, and that's okay. That doesn't mean I'm bad and dirty and evil and terrible, but that like I can name it for what it is, and that it separates me from God, and that I'm interested in being close to God, even if being separated from God feels better. And so that is what I think is my like thing I cling to, but it's also something I think is one of my biggest challenges because it's so hard.
Incredibly hard. And like you said, welcome back, Phil. When you're in a system, maybe that even would profit, like wrong word, but like profit off of a type A pastor. I'm sure. Big system. I'm sure big budget, lots to do. Probably you're growing, more programs to offer, more this, more that, more that,
especially
more
as
this.
a young woman, you want to show them that you can do that.
Oh my God, yeah.
Inner sense of like, I will show you just how productive and wonderful and like how much capitalism loves me and I love it back. Like you want to show like just how much you can win, and instead God is telling you to be like, actually it's not that, and you're like, oh, but I wish it was.
But I wish it was. I just keep coming up in my mind, or what keeps coming up in my mind is almost like Jonah. I don't know if that's relatable to you.
Yes. Yeah, very much so.
Did you just compare Wichita to Nineveh? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I mean, if it fits, it fits, right? Like,
and I love, big disclaimer to Wichita and to First Pres, love you all. But it's like, I think there's so much of being like, God, like, no, I don't wanna, and like feet stomping, you know, and God being like, that sucks. Go do it.
Sorry about you. Come on.
There's the way. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and not again, no shade First Pres, no shade Wichita. I've literally never been to Kansas.
Both
so
great
like
places. Yeah.
Right. But like as people who live in the South, although I keep being reminded by my friends that Texas is not the South, it's its own beast, its own entity, which is
because it's not the
annoying.
Southwest either. It's so weird. Yeah.
Whatever. Like being from Texas, I have a lot of friends who I met in Chicago at seminary that I was like, come serve like in Texas. There's cool stuff happening. They're like, no, I'm not safe there. No, like I couldn't be there. There are people actively leaving for many, many and varied reasons. So in a broader cultural scope of the fact that there's a lot of people out there that might actually think that Wichita, Kansas is Nineveh because it's not a safe and wonderful and loving place for them.
And like I want to say, like, particularly for my like trans friends, like they're not wrong. Like when we first moved here, my wife was interviewed for this local newspaper for the town she works in, and it was basically just about like, oh, there's a new pastor in town, and it kind of focused on the fact that she was a woman, and there was one line about how she had a wife, and the newspaper shared this on Facebook, like shared the article, and all of these, I mean, it was probably only 3 or 4, but it just felt like so crazy. These men who were pastors also in this town she works in, like all caps, like, get out of town, you Jezebel spirit, you aren't wanted here. And like, they didn't even read that she had a wife. It was just because she was a woman. And I was just like, I remember looking at her being like, actually, I'm out. Like, I'm done. And she's like, you need to chill out. And I'm like, oh no, like I'm actually, take me back to Princeton. Fine. Give me my East Coast elitism. Like, I'll take it. Like, and of course that's not really how I feel, but in the moment I was just like, oh no. Like, I didn't think I signed up for that. You know, there's been and like, it happens everywhere. Like, I don't want to be like, Kansas is it's not a bad place. Like, I'm from Ohio. This could happen in Ohio too. It could happen in New Jersey. It could happen in New York. Like, it can happen anywhere.
That's a good reminder.
But like, I think there was a certain level of just like, oh, I did not sign up to be this disliked. It wasn't even me. It was her. She was like, I'm not even mad. Why are you mad? I'm like, because this is new for me, because I was not visibly queer growing up. The church doted on me because they thought I was going to have a husband, you know, like, so there was no reason not to. And so like the discovery of like, oh, they don't dote on you, like, was hard at first.
Ugh, that just feels rough. So
yeah. But also, like, there's really good community building here.
For sure. Yeah.
There are amazing people here.
I really do think it's a good reminder, right? That every place has the potential for both really terrible and really beautiful and amazing things. And I think that's community. That's what I was going to say. It's like, it's a shout out to community in general, right? That it shows up in all kinds of ways, no matter what space you're in.
Yeah.
Just what are you building to create and like make in the midst of all of that, right? So, first of all, just thank you. Like, thank you for showing up in the way that both you and your wife do. And I don't know a lot about either one of your ministries. I'm learning more as we go here, but I just appreciate you showing up and having the courage to show up in the midst of that. That's. She's
much better at it than I am. She is far more patient and like thoughtful. And I am just like flying on the seat of my handlebars, yelling at people as I go by. But she's much better. And you want to talk about young people. I'll just do a little plug for my wife here. Her church has 5 acres. And when she started there, they had the idea to turn it all into community garden space. So they just did it. 5 acres of complete community garden space. They're partnering with a nonprofit that helps adults with severe mental illness in the city, and they're growing food for their salad bar there. And they got 20,000 bees, and they're beekeeping. It's so cool. She does such cool stuff.
So come back soon. We'll have Emily's wife on here too.
Yeah,
to have a conversation
next.
Well, so okay, I do want to ask, because justice. You mentioned, even back to when you originally weren't on TikTok, you said, like, should I ethically be doing this? Where did that originate from in you? Where did the ethics piece, the whole conversation, and this whole justice idea originate in you as a person and or Christian?
So I have ADHD. I was diagnosed when I was 7 years old. And I noticed very quickly upon getting TikTok that it was addictive, and it was built to be addictive, right? Like, and I think that there is so many wonderful things about having ADHD, but there's also so many things that are less wonderful. And one of them is that I can get like sucked into something, and then I can stay there for like 6 hours. And it can be something that I like really wish I wasn't sucked into. And I think that's true for everyone. Like, that's how the algorithm works for everyone. But particularly folks I know who struggle with ADHD are like, how did I end up scrolling for 4 hours when I meant to just go like take a 5-minute break, And I felt like I didn't want to participate in people finding connection through sound bites and through 60-second videos. Like, that felt really icky to me. And I also didn't want to participate in something that led to further addiction, like, honestly. But Well, there was I'm calling it addiction. That feels dramatic, but I truly believe like that's what it is. Like I think there's the addiction piece, the like soundbite piece, and then also, and this is something I'm still very hyper aware of, and I don't think there's a good answer for it. But like when people are coming to First Pres now, they're coming for me. And like that's unhealthy and bad. And like I think we should just name that. But it's also like one of the only ways to get folks like to feel like that the person they in charge they can trust at a certain level. And I think
can I just say real fast too, like naming that from the get-go is also a really important piece of it, right? Because I think for the longest time when you had these evangelists where the whole church was built on their personality, and then X, Y, and Z scenario happened to that evangelist, the whole thing crumbled, right? But you didn't really see them naming that very often, right? Like I shouldn't throw shade. I didn't know any of them personally, but like often there was it seemed like there was a lot of ego involved in the midst of that, right? They would have never named it publicly in such a way. So I just, again, shout out to you for just naming it publicly and being very honest and authentic about that aspect of it, right?
Well, it matters. Like, I think it matters. And like, I think thankfully I think I've done a pretty good job at when people come from TikTok, I'm like, great. Like you and I should meet and get coffee, which I do that with anyone who comes. But then it's like, let's plug you in. Like, let's get, like, I want you to meet Peggy. Peggy's 82. Y'all both like sewing. Go make friends. Like, see ya, you know, like and I think that's really important is to be like, this is, if you're going to be here, like you're here for this community. And most of them want that. Like, to be clear, nobody has ever shown up and been like, I'm like weird, you know, like everybody is so excited to just be at a church that feels safe and affirming. Like, and they're so excited when I'm like, go meet Peggy or go meet Patty or go meet Tom or whoever else. Like, they're so excited for that. But I think pastors need to be able to make that push, to be like, I can't wait to know you intimately and to learn to care for and love you. And also, I can't wait for you to get to know this community intimately and to like really get them pushed in, not just by making them volunteer for things that people don't want to do anymore, but by like getting them to make friends and like giving opportunities for friendship, which often means like stepping back. I feel a little embarrassed that it took me a year to learn this, but like when we first started having young adults show up, they would all hang out in the church or after the service we call it the well, like the little coffee area. And I was so like thrilled. I was just like, oh yes, this is like, I've done it. I've done ministry. Look at me. Like there's 7 20-somethings talking in a circle after church and they aren't just leaving. Like I was just so pleased. And I would come sit with them and it just like, it just felt like something was off. Like, I don't know. I couldn't describe it. And then finally I was talking to my coach about it. And I was like, I feel like I ruined the vibe. And he's like, well, you are their pastor. Like, even though they're your age, like when you come join the conversation, the pastor joined the conversation. And I was like, oh, duh. And like, it's not that I like don't talk to my young adults. Of course I do. But so I like leave them be. I let them make friends with themselves, like with each other. And like, I'm embarrassed. It took me a while to figure it out, but like, I think that that's a really good and healthy thing to be like, actually, I'm going to scoot out of the way all the time when there's new people on a Sunday. I'll be like, Evie, you just showed up for the first time today and you're going to go grab coffee. And Emma, you also just showed up. You guys look to be about the same age. I don't know. Why don't you go sit together? And they will. And it's great. Like, and I think pastors just need to be okay with doing that.
And I don't think you
like in friendship.
Yeah, which is such a, like, I would love that for myself. I go into a new community where they're like, hey, you would like this person, go and talk with them, because it can be really intimidating and hard. And I feel like Phil and I are both like having a tendency to pep you up, which I'm sure you're receptive of, but like, don't feel like embarrassed that it took you a year. How many of our colleagues do you know never learned this lesson? So 1, shout out to you, but 2, I was talking with a friend of mine who's a pastor, and we were talking about like almost like some disappointment at her community because of the way that they're like not actually showing up for each other. Mm-hmm. And part of it's that they just don't know what's going on, right? Like
they don't know each other.
They don't know because they don't know each other. Not at all.
I only have one hill I'll die on in church. I only have one hill, and it's name tags. From the very first day I came, I said, you have to have name tags. And they said, we don't have any. I said, I will not come. I will not preach if we do not have name tags, because y'all have to know each other's names. Like, you have to, if you want to love each other.
You need to be able to be connected.
You have to. And it has changed so much. If anyone on here is listening, they're like, what can we do? Name tags.
Name tags.
You have to, because you have to know each other's names, and everybody knows that feeling where you know this woman who introduced herself to you like 3 times 9 months ago, and now it's far too late, and you know her brother died recently, and you want to say something, but you literally don't know her name. Everyone has been there. And if she's wearing a giant name tag that says Kim, you can just be like, Kim, I am so sorry about your brother. Like, it changes so much pastorally and like in the community. That is one of the only hill I die on is named.
Die on it. I mean, don't die on it, but like get on that soapbox. Like the difference it makes. A woman came to the church literally the last day I was there on Christmas Eve, and they were like, they don't even live in the area I serve. They have like a house out there that I go to sometimes. And so they're at their vacation house. And I was like, I feel like I should know your name. And she's like, we're never here. You shouldn't know my name. I was like, yeah, but is it Robin? And she was like, yeah, it actually is Robin. And like the change in her posture, like the change in her eye to be remembered.
Yes. Like, and that is the idea that church can and should be a place where when you show up, if you haven't been for weeks, you don't feel guilt, but you feel joy and like welcome. Like sorry if you can cut this out if it's talking too much, but I worked for Andrew and Lynn Scales, who are, I think, just the most fabulous campus ministers in the world at Princeton University. And they really got me to die on the hill of name tags. And they would have everyone make their own name tags. And then because you could change pronouns and you could change whatever you need to change for these college students. And then they had them in these boxes that were there. And so every week we'd pull out these name tags, and half of them were never used because but then once every like 2 months, a grad student or someone would come who hadn't been since the semester before, and they'd be like, oh, I got to make a new name tag. And Andrew and then be like, nope, it's right here. And like the like almost tears, you like just the like, oh, especially when they're away from home and away from family. Because in college, it's like, oh, I am loved and remembered here. Like, they did not throw that away. And then they did the same thing. They're so smart. They do a big Thanksgiving feast. And then they have a few other, like, I think during alumni season, they have like a big thing. And they had extra bins in the closet that were like only for those events. So if you came once 3 years ago, your name tag was there. And like, wow. Like, when I go back and visit Princeton, I'm like, where's my name tag? Like, it's like, I'm part of this community too, you know, like, it's just such a joy to be like, I'm seen and loved here, and I see and love other people who are here as well.
Isn't that what it's all about? Yes. And I know Phil's going to jump in. I just have to, like, my campus ministry did the same thing. And as someone who's a very particular person, right, to be able to write my name tag in green because I love green, and like underline it in purple because I love purple, and like decorate it in a way, it made me feel even more seen and loved and quirky and weird. And
that's what campus ministry is.
And I still have that name tag somewhere because like when I left, I took it with me, and because I love it, and it was such an important time in my life.
Oh, that's so cool.
Okay, so I want to get a little nerdy real fast, like church-wise nerdy. In what ways does worship help build community in your church, and in what ways are you building community beyond worship, and how do you blend and meld the two of those together?
Okay, I'm going to get a book. It's my favorite book, and I have to go back to it all the time.
She literally just walked away for everybody who's just listening right now. There we go. Okay.
I'm sorry. That was
no, you're good. You're good.
It's Claudio Carvalhaes. What's worship got to do with it? Oh my goodness. I recorded a TikTok about this a few months ago where like I used to fall into the camp of people who was like, we should shut down all the churches, make them food pantries, and just serve people. And that would be a better use of the church. And then I married an Episcopalian. And you should have seen me the first time we took Eucharistic. Oh, man, I was like, well, I didn't know we were Catholic around here. Like, it was so new. It was so new for me. But they've taught me so much. And one of those things is like the fact that worship is the means and the end, you know? And Claudio Carvalhaes says that in worship, we reorient ourselves to what we could be at our best. And that, like, we're practicing for that. And I think that is the most important thing, at least for my community right now, in the state they're in, to do, is to say that, like, everything we do in here matters. We're doing it for a reason. and that the way we do it hopefully mimics what it would be like in the kingdom of heaven. And I'm very particular. I wouldn't die on this hill, because like I said, I only die on one, but I will make a fuss about I will explain a lot of the elements of worship in worship, because I think we really need, like, people, particularly young adults, like, only they want to know why we're doing what we're doing, because, like, duh, who doesn't want to know that? And so, like, passing the peace, like, I try to share at least once a month, once every other month, like, instead of just saying, may the peace of Christ be with you and also with you, go say hi to your neighbor, I remind them, like, in the Presbyterian tradition, the first thing we do when we come to service is we go to God in confession and we say, sorry, we've messed up. And then we're reminded, doesn't matter. You're forgiven no matter what. And then we go to our neighbor and we say, sorry, we've messed up. And that's what passing the peace is. So if you fought with your spouse on the way here about getting here on time, give them a hug. And if you got into an argument in a committee about the color of the carpet, go give them a hug. And of course, we don't have carpet arguments. I wouldn't name anything that's actually happening, but just a reminder that, like, hey, that lady that was driving you crazy in that meeting a few weeks ago, like, this is what church is about. You got to go say hi to her now. Like, oh, and I think that matters so much to, like, name the purpose of each part of worship. So that's my long answer, but I really try to return to his theology of worship a lot, because it helps me.
Love Claudio. He spoke at our midwinter lectures a couple years ago at Austin Seminary, and he was just the best. Just so animated and so fun.
He's incredible. Just incredible. This episode was brought to you by Claudio Carvalhaes.
We need to reach out to. We can get him on the pod, maybe.
That'd be fun. I'm sure he'd say yes. And I know we're wrapping up. We're coming down to time, but I can't not ask when you start this episode by saying I'm a big nerd and I love books. Like, what are you reading? Best book of the year so far? Like, what do you recommend? Or should we just find that on TikTok?
No. Best book of the year so far. Okay, I'm still thinking about a book I read last year, and I wrote an article for Good Friday about it. And I'm not a very good writer, and I don't say that in a self-deprecating way. It's just something I'd like to get better at. But I'm a good reader. I like reading. And it was Chain Gang All-Stars. And it's a book about the American prison system. If you like Hunger Games, you'll probably like it. It's a piece of fiction. But it's haunting in a very particular way. I loved that. That was my best book of 2025. The book I have been recommending the most, though it's not by any means like life-changing, I think, for clergy, is Exodus for Normal People by Pete Enns. I know he's done the Bible for normal people forever and it's just kind of been around. But the folks in my church who have been faithful and grown up in this church, the way Exodus for Normal People brought them to tears, because they were like, I've always had questions about if this actually happened, and now I don't feel guilty for the questions I had, even though, like, this is a church that has never believed that, like, everything in the Bible literally happened. I think hearing it in normal people language just, like, freed so many of them. So Genesis for Normal People and Exodus for Normal People have been, like, one I've been recommending a lot. And then, honestly, in my own life, what I have been loving is really well-written children's Bibles for my own spiritual life.
Which one are you doing, or which couple do you recommend?
Book for Belonging is one.
I have that.
Book of Belonging. And then I just ordered the Peace Table, but I gave it away before I could read it, which was silly of me. And then Pete Enns published one, and I'm trying to remember the name of it. He and, like, a dozen others. And, what I love about that one is that it doesn't start with the creation story. It starts with the story of the capture of the Israelites from Babylon, from the Babylonians. And
telling God's story, is that what it is?
What is it?
Is it just telling God's story?
Oh, it's God's stories written by God's children or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. And so it starts with the exile, and it, like, opens up mid-exile, and then it goes into, like, the children in the exile saying, like, how did we get here? What's going on? And then they sit down, the elders of the community sit down and they tell the two creation stories. And I read that to my young adult group, and they were like, this would have completely changed my entire way I connected with God if I had read this version of a Bible as a child.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm like stealing these ideas.
Yeah, please, no, take everything. My intellectual property is your intellectual property, like whatever. And I, for my own spiritual well-being, like sometimes I can't just open my big NRSVUE with its study notes and be like, wow, I'm feeling so moved by this story in 2 Kings. Like that doesn't happen very often. But I can't open a really well-written children's Bible and be like, I feel connected to God after being reminded of a simple truth about God in this story.
Wow. Incredible. I have already put 2 books on my shelf. Like I've already like looked over there to be like, is my God's stories by God's children like here? Is that at the office? I think it's at the office. What an energizing episode. Truly, Emily, she took a chance on a random email that I sent her. So shout out Caroline for recommending us. Shout out Emily for taking the chance. What an incredible time of sharing stories and sharing passion and seeing what the Spirit's up to, whether or not we're Spirit driven, whether or not we're type A, which I think most of us are a little bit of it all, right?
Yeah.
Yo, you can find Emily on TikTok. You can find her at First Presbyterian in Wichita. Thank you so much for being with us.
Emily, can I ask one last thing?
Yes, of course.
Where have you seen beauty in the world lately, in the midst of all like so many things to be mournful about and lament? Where are you seeing beauty right now?
My friendships. I had a really cruddy day yesterday, and my best friend Rosa, we get root beer floats from Wendy's when that's my like comfort food when I'm sad. And she, after telling her about my crappy day, she was like, Wendy's? And so we drove to our separate Wendy's. She's in New Jersey, I'm in Kansas, and we drove to our separate Wendy's while on the phone. And then we just sat in our cars and ate our Frosties on the phone. And that just, I couldn't do life without her or without my friends.
I love that. I have so many more like nerdy tech things I want to talk about, but that'll have to be for another episode. So just thank you for your time. Like Cece said, go find Emily and all she's doing in the world. So grateful for you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you guys.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The Collective Voice, the premier podcast of the 787 Collective. For more information, visit us at 787collective.org or find us on social media. And if you enjoyed what you heard, be sure to subscribe, rate us, and share a review. For when you do, you are tricking the algorithm for the common good.